Welcome to Digital Softics, continuing database management system tutorial. Today's topic is data models in DBMS or in database management system. So let's move on towards today's agenda. What is a data model? Parts of data model and types of data models. So what is a data model? Generally, we going to explain this uh, term a data model, a representation of real world objects, events, and their association is called model. So the model helps the user to understand the complexities of a real world environment. These collections of concepts describe and manipulate data, relationships between data, and rules on the data called data model. As you have seen on the screen that a data model is the representation of objects and the relationship among them. For example, as you can see the model of a home. So a home or a house is the combination of rooms, washrooms, kitchens, lawns, everything when they combine together they make a model. So that is why a data model is a representation of real world objects, events and their association is called a model. So it's the general concept or general definition of a data model. So let's move on and see the data model in DBMS. So data model in database. So a database data model is a type of data model which determine the logical structure of a database, that how data is stored in the database and how to manipulate the data in the database. So it is the structurized picture of a data stored in the database. So the biggest advantage of a data model in the database is it tells us that how the data is stored in the database, how the data has the relationship between the different parts of the database. So with the help of database we can easily determine the internal structure of a data stored in the database, that how the data can be manipulated and different operation can be performed. So data model help us to determine these things, that how data is stored and how the structure of a data look like. With the help of data we apply constraint, we apply different kind of operation with the help of a data model. So it is the biggest advantage of a data model, that data is stored in database with the help of a data model, and it further delivers us the way that how the data can be manipulated in the database. So what are the parts of the data models? So a data model consists of the following parts. Number one, structure part. It consists of set of rules. These rules specify how database can be developed. So with the help of this data model, it is the structure part that tell us the rules regulation for the development of a database, because every data is stored in the database with the help of rules and regulations. So, so the first part of a data model is the structure part. Structure part deliver us the rules and constraint on the data present in the database or store the data in the database. So these rules specify how the database can be developed. So the database development rules can be specified by the structure parts of a data model. So before development of a database, we specify that which model is used in the database. So with the help of the data model, we develop database. Number second part, manipulate part. So it defines the type of operation can be performed on the data. Operation contain updating the data in the database and changing the structure of a data present in the database. So manipulate part delivers us the way of operation can be performed on the data present in the database, because data is stored for some kind of operations to perform some operations. So manipulation part of the data model delivers us the way that how the operation can be performed, how the data can be updated in the database, how the data can be stored, how the data can be easily retrieved from the database for different kinds of purposes. So, and it also delivers us the changing the structure of a data present in the database. So how the change occur in the database? So when we apply changes in the database, we follow the structural parts for rules, and we follow the method of manipulate part of the data models to change the structure of internal data present in the database. Number third one, the set of integrity. It ensures how the data is accurate. So data model help us to assure the integrity of data. Integrity means how the data is accurate, whether data is wrong or right. So it is the responsibility of set of integrity part of the data model to assure the data present in the database. So what are the importance of a data models? A data model can facilitate interaction among the designers, the application programmer, and the end user. So designer is the person who designed the database. So become a database designer, it really necessary for us to assure that we have understand the concepts of data models. So when developing a database, when designing a database, it is the responsibility of software designer to assure which data model can be used. The application programmer, it is a person who write application, who writes software for different kinds of operation perform on the database. And the end user is the person who have no knowledge about the data present in the database. It's just retrieve the data, delete the data, and perform different simple operation on the data present in the database. Any DBMS cannot exist without a data model. So as we discussed earlier, that data model help us to develop the database. Data model help us to assure the integrity, the accuracy of a data, and the set of rules of the data present in the database. So without a data model, the database cannot be developed. So data model enable user to understand the functionality provided by the DBMS. So DBMS and database have a very important relation with the help of data models. So data model enable the user to understand the functionality provided by the DBMS. So data model both facilitate the user and the application programmer when we have performed different operations in database. So the different types of a data model we use. So number one is the hierarchical model. One of the earliest database management system was based on the hierarchical database management system. In this model, record have a parent-child relationship. One of the most popular hierarchical database management system was information management system. So IMS or LMS, learning management system, we currently use in for learning from different platform. So one of the most popular hierarchical database. So look at the the diagram present on the screen. We have employee. So employee with relationship with the permanent, with the contact, with the intern. So these are different entities present in the organization. So hierarchical model represent the relationship among the different entities present in the organization. With the help of arrow, we specify the relationship. So employee can be permanent, employee can be assigned in the organization with the help of contract, or the employee can have intern. So in permanent we have two categories, we have a manager, we have a software engineer. So we represent set of entities present in the organization. So it is the hierarchical model. Hierarchical model represent the hierarchy of people or object present in the organization. So when we developing these kind of system, we use hierarchical model. Number second one is relational model. So code work to improve the working of DBMS to handle large volumes of data. He applied the rules of mathematics to solve the problems such as data integrity and data redundancy. In the model, in this model, the data is stored in a relation term as a table. A table in database has a unique name that is identity. Each table contains rows and columns. So the second one model we use in database management system is relational model. Relational is called the second name for a table. Just like in this picture you have seen. So core work to improve the working of a DBMS. So as the previous model, the hierarchical model, so hierarchical model is not specified. It does not help us to perform different kind of operation easily as compared to the relational model, because the data is not fully specified, not fully divided. So we, for employee, we make a table with the help of this model. So code work to improve the DBMS system. For example, we make the relational model database uh, using the relational model. So relational model store data rather than object, is store the data and perform different operations for specific entity in the table. A table in database has a unique name and a have identity. So let's see practically, and this is called relational model. So a relation have a specific name which is called student, and they have tuples or records. So these are the attributes of a student, such as name, SSN, home phone address, office phone, age, and GPA. So we use the relational model here. Relational model have the data present and stored in the tables. It's called tables. So the attributes and tuples of relation students, so these are called attributes. So for a student we specify these things easily. So this is called the name of the relation or the table, and this is called the tuples, the records. So we call them columns, and this is called rows. So the student information is organizedly saved in this relation, such as the home address and office, age, GPA, everything is stored in organized way. So for these kind of operations, such as for education system, we use a relational model to store data specifically and to store all the information of one entity. So here entity name is student, so we make the student table name and we specify and add all the operation related to students. We have different types of students, such as uh, the first one, the second one, the third one, and everyone have their own information we have it. They may also have a null value, so we explain these things in the later tutorials. So the third one is very important model, the ER model. So entity relationship model is a high level conceptual data model diagram. ER modeling help you to analyze the data requirements systematically to produce a well designed database. So the entity relational model represent the real world entities and the relationship between them. It is considered to be the best practice to complete ER modeling before implementing your database. So usually ER model is used in the database development. So here we have entities and some words that might be ambiguous. So let's move on and understand these words. What does ER include? Entity. An entity is a person, place, or thing. So entity might be anything, might be everything. We have the person, place, or thing. So an entity is a person, place, or anything, or event. So attribute is a characteristic of entity. For example, we have a student entity. So student entity have name, home phone address, office phone. So it called attributes of the student. So student is entity here, student is a name, student is a relational model name. Here we have this student. So this student have a lot of attributes, such as name, home phone address. So everything or information related to the student are stored in the attributes, and characteristic we call them So these are the attributes such as roll number, registration name, address, GPA. These are all the attributes of a student. So relationships. It is the relationship of two or more entities. Such as we have a student entity, we have a teacher entity, and so student and teacher entity have a relationships. So these entities have relationships. So ERD or entity relationship diagram or model is based on entity, the attributes related to that entity, and the relationship between entities, because when more than one entity is combined together they form the model. So let's see what I'm talking about. ER diagram. So it is a simple ER diagram which we have a user entity and we have an item entity. So a user have its own attribute, user ID, username, height, and weight, and the item have their own attributes such as item ID, on the ID, type, and properties. So these two entities have a relationship, such as relationship can be specified with the help of these arrows. So in the future tutorial we explain this ERD in detail, but it is just a concept and just a simple view that what is ERD. So ERD is the relational model which is used in the database. So ERD have entities, they have attributes, and they have a relationship, such as we have a user. So user ID, username, height, and weight are its attribute, and they have a relationship with the item entity. So item entity have their own relationships, their own attribute. So it is enough for the data models. So we have explained the types of models, the parts of a data models, and what is a data models. So it's enough for today. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos and updates for software engineering tutorials and for DBMS, for all the information technology tutorials. So stay with us. Thanks for watching. Thank you.